So the topic is general anatomy of nervous system. So in this topic we will be covering the competency, general plan of nervous system with its components. Nervous system maintains control of the body by means of electrical and chemical messages. It carries out its function in three steps. First, it receives internal and external environment information. The second is it transmits the messages to central nervous system. And the third is the central nervous system processes the information received and issues commands to the muscles and glands to carry out the responses. So divisions. Nervous system has two divisions, two anatomical divisions. That is central nervous system, which consists of brain and spinal cord, and peripheral nervous system, which consists of rest of the nervous system composed of nerves and ganglia. What is a nerve and ganglion? A nerve is a bundle of axons wrapped in fibrous connective tissue, and a ganglion is cell bodies of neurons located outside the central nervous system. Peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system is functionally divided into sensory and motor divisions. Each of these is subdivided into somatic and visceral subdivisions. Somatic division. The somatic division has skin and skeletal muscles as its parts. Its sensory division brings sensation. Responses given by it are carried out by skeletal muscles. The response of skeletal muscles are called as skeletal reflexes. Visceral division. The visceral division is the autonomic nervous system. It carries from and to signals to the glands, cardiac muscle and smooth muscle. Its action is voluntary. The responses are called as visceral reflexes. Autonomic nervous system has two divisions. Sympathetic division arouses body for action by increasing heartbeat and respiratory rate and inhibits digestion. The parasympathetic division has calming effect, slowing the heartbeat and stimulate digestion. Then we go to components of nervous tissue and their function. Neurons and neuroglia. Neurons are the chief cells of the nervous system. Neurons are outnumbered by neuroglia or glial cells. Glial cells are 10 times to neurons. Neuroglia protects the neurons and aids them in function. Neurons are separated from one another by glial cells except at the point of contact, that is synapse. This nature of neurons endows them with precision in the conduction of impulses. There are 6 types of neuroglia. 4 occur in the central nervous system and 2 in the peripheral nervous system. Neuroglia cells in the central nervous system are oligodendroglia, ependymal cells, microglia and astrocytes. Coming to neuroglia, first we will see oligodendroglia. You can see in the picture oligodendroglia. These cells are similar to octopus with a body and around 15 arms. Each of its arms winds round the nerve fiber and gives it myelin sheath. Myelin sheath provides insulation to the nerve fiber. Myelin sheath speeds up the signal conduction in the nerve fiber. Ependymal cells. Ependymal cells are cuboidal. They line the cavities of the brain and spinal cord, and they secrete cerebrospinal fluid. Microglia. Microglia is small macrophage of central nervous system. They are derived from white blood cells. They wander through the central nervous system, cleansing the debris. They are capable of remodeling and changing the connections between the neurons. Astrocytes. You can see in the picture astrocytes. Astrocytes are most abundant cells present in the central nervous system. They are present at all places in the central nervous system excepting at the synaptic junctions. They are star shaped. And the picture of the astrocyte. Coming to functions performed by astrocytes, they form supportive network for neurons. They have perivascular field with which they contact the capillaries, blood vessels, blood capillaries, and provide nutrition to the neurons. So they do regulate the blood flow to the brain. They form blood-brain barrier. They convert glucose into lactate, which is the nutrient of the brain tissue. Continuing with the functions, they secrete growth factors that regulate development, nerve development. They influence synaptic signaling. They regulate the composition of the brain tissue fluid. During nerve transmission, neurotransmitters and potassium ions are released into the brain tissue. Astrocytes regulate the tissue levels, their tissue levels, by removing the excess. When the neurons die, astrocytes can replace it, aggregating themselves in that space or at that space and form a hardened mass. Neuroglia in the peripheral nervous system. Schwann cells. These cells wrap around the peripheral nerve fibers and provide myelin sheath similar to oligodendroglia of central nervous system. The presence of Schwann cells, called as neurolemma, around the damaged nerve fiber aid in regeneration of those nerve fibers. So the Schwann cell is shown in this picture. Satellite cells. These cells form capsules for peripheral ganglia. They surround ganglia and regulate the environment of the neurons. Schwann cells and satellite cells of neuroglia belong to the peripheral nervous system. Parts of neuron and classification of neurons based on the neurites. The picture showing the neuron with its dendrites, nucleus which is vesicular, axon hillock, axon, and also terminal synaptic terminals. Neuron has a cell body also called a soma. Cell body has a central nucleus with a large nucleolus. Mature neurons are devoid of centrioles, hence they do not undergo further cell division after adolescence. So neurons are irreplaceable. Neurons are irreplaceable. Neurons are long-living cells capable of functioning for over 100 years. In old age, also stem cells are present in some vital parts of brain which can generate nerve tissue to a limited extent. Dendrite. Cell body of the neuron gives rise to a few thick processes which in turn branch into dendrites. Dendrites receive signals towards the cell body of the neuron. Axon. On one side of the cell body of the neuron, there is a mound called as axon hillock. Axon originates from axon hillock. Axon is mostly without any branches and branches extensively at the distal end. Axon is specialized for rapid conduction of signals away from the cell body. Its cytoplasm is called as axoplasm. A neuron has no more than one axon and some have none. An axon can be more than 1 meter long. Distal end of an axon has an extensive complex of branches. Each branch ends on an axon terminal, which it forms the junction or synapse with the next cell. Axon terminal has synaptic vesicle filled with neurotransmitter. Classification of neurons. The neuron is classified based on the presence of number of processes arising from the cell body. One is multipolar neuron, is similar to what was described earlier. It has one axon and multiple dendrites. It is the most common type of neuron in the central nervous system. In the picture you can see the unipolar, bipolar and multipolar neurons. So classification of neurons, we have bipolar neurons, has one axon and one dendrite. The examples are olfactory cells of the nasal mucosa, middle neurons of the retina and the sensory neurons of the middle ear, internal ear. Then unipolar neurons have a single process. The touch and pain receptor is an example of unipolar neuron. These neurons are also called pseudo-unipolar because they start with two processes, but as a neuron matures, the process fuse into one. A short distance from the cell body of the neuron, the processes bifurcate in the form of T into a peripheral and central fiber. And anoxonic neuron, these neurons have multiple dendrites but no axon. They communicate locally through their dendrites and no action potentials are generated. These neurons are found in brain, retina and retinal medulla. In the retina they help in visual processes such as perception of contrast. Thank you.